people are worried. People are worried about the Toronto Raptors right now. Not for next season or anything future-wise. I mean, maybe a few people are worried here and there about the future of the Raptors, but a lot of people are worried about the present of the Toronto Raptors and the state of the Raptors tank because they're occupying for a pretty long period of time a bottom 5 seed in the NBA, securing themselves a pretty good draft pick. And then slowly they've started to win games and win games and win games. And all of a sudden, the Raptors now occupy a bottom 7 seed. And it's kind of looking like, as this bottom 7 seed, that the Raptors aren't really going to be able to catch the Brooklyn Nets or Philadelphia 76ers here. We have them, it's a little bit cut off, but you see like they're 7th there on the list. They are now 3.5 games up on Brooklyn. They're now 5 games up on Philadelphia. Philadelphia have lost 8 games in a row. The Raptors have won 4 games in a row here, putting together another pizza party win streak. And it kind of felt like, oh, they're just going to stay the 7th seed now. Well, the bigger factor is now all of a sudden, like, are the San Antonio Spurs going to catch you? I mean, to a lesser degree, but are the Portland Trailblazers going to catch you? Because both of them have lost 4 games in a row. So what is the actual threat of the Raptors getting caught even further in these reverse standings? Well, let's dig in a little bit to the schedule as of late. I get that they're winning games. I get that's frustrating for a lot of people, but you kind of have to look at the state of these games. Like, where did the tank really begin for the Raptors? The tank, to me, really started here against the Bulls. Because we had the trade. I always said, play your basketball, try and win up to the trade deadline, which was, I think it was, the 6th, so right before this game here. And the Raptors had a pretty difficult pocket of their schedule at that time. Like, lost to the Thunder, lost to the Rockets. I remember this Philly game. This is actually a really fun game. Very impressive win. Joel Embiid played in that game. And then, a loss to the Cavs, a loss to the Heat in games that they played, like, the Heat, they played pretty well. Had a really good performance against Phoenix. And that game didn't feel like, wow, we're hurting our tank standings here because we were only 18-39 after winning that game. Then a couple tough games against the Celtics, against the Pacers. And then this is, like I said, where I think the tank really began for the Raptors, this Bulls game here, because they took a big lead into the late stages of that game. They took out Jakob Poeltl, and the Bulls made a huge run in the 4th to come back and tie it, and then went on a huge run in overtime to just flat out win that game. It's funny, when the tank began for the Raptors, they just started to win games because then they played Orlando and they tried it again. They subbed Poeltl out for the clutch. Orlando almost came back, but in the end, the Raptors sneak out a win. Then they really started trying to tank. This second Orlando game was the day they took out like all of their starters for the last few minutes, the clutch. And their young guys got them over the line with Lawson and guys like Walter hitting that pretty much buzzer beater 3 to win. We weren't super alarmed at that time, but we probably should have seen this coming because they got out tanked by the Jazz. Like this is the point I'm trying. Are they going to get caught? Are they doing enough for their tank? Because this Jazz game, they tried, man, like with some of the lineups. But this was a frustrating one because in the 4th, if they'd taken out some stars, they probably could have made it really close and possibly lost. But in the end, out-tanked by the Jazz. Miracle loss here. Like, I'm not sure how they ended up losing to the Wizards because they got out-tanked by them a couple days later in the same matchup. Then there was this 76ers game where, again, it was just a case of we're really trying to tank. Same with this Jazz. We're really trying to tank, but they just out-tanked us. They just have worse lineups playing than we do. We're playing too well defensively to lose these games. Tough pocket of schedule, 4 losses in a row, and then we've hit another easy pocket where we are putting out not great lineups, and we are trying to give the other team a chance, but in the end, we are just a better team right now. Our defense is great pretty much no matter who's on the floor, and I got to give a lot of credit to the coaching staff for doing that. not maybe the right time for that to happen, but the Raptors are pulling guys out of these games. They're limiting the star guys that do play. They don't always play unless it's Scotty Barnes for some reason. When these guys do play, they're getting like 27, 28 minutes, like pretty much. Like that's the rotation. There just is a set rotation. That's how many minutes that they are getting. But like winning a lot of games right now. They have won 7 of their last 11 games overall. The Raptors have. And all of a sudden now we're looking at them in these reverse standings like, yes, they could indeed get caught by these San Antonio Spurs because the schedule, as much as it's no longer the easiest remaining schedule in the NBA, it's one of the easiest. It's a bottom 3. It's however you look at top 3, bottom 3 easiest schedule in the league. The San Antonio Spurs have a pretty difficult schedule still remaining. They have the 12th most difficult schedule remaining in the NBA. Thankfully, Portland have a pretty easy schedule as well. But why, like, it's kind of a concern to me, but not like a huge concern. The Raptors, after all, only have 7 games remaining, and we're about to hit one of the tough pockets of the schedule. Chicago have been... I mean, we have Chicago next. Let's say Chicago next, Portland after that, and the Detroit, the game after that. Chicago have been on a tear recently. I said it earlier on in this stream here. They've just been plowing through some teams. Like Kobe White's played really well. Honestly, Josh Giddey has played really well. They are just clicking at the right or wrong moment, depending how you look at it for Chicago, because they're solidifying that play-in spot, but they're gearing up for a pretty good play-in tournament campaign with the way they've been playing lately. At Chicago, Chicago should be favored by a little bit here. Then it's home versus Portland, and Portland have had like a solid season overall. I know their record may not suggest it, but like Portland have had some interesting wins. The issue is Portland have lost 4 games in a row, has been against some tough competition. Their last win was a pretty resounding one over the Denver Nuggets, and remember the Raptors lost to Portland recently. However, it took a pretty heroic tank effort to lose this one. The Raptors were up big in the 4th and took everybody out and had to purposely lose this game. But, who's to say they can't do that again? Portland have a much better chance of beating the Raptors compared to other teams. And Detroit are a playoff team. They've been great this year. Detroit should very, very likely win that game in Toronto. So I'm kind of looking at 3 losses in a row here. And overall, the 7 games remaining in the season, all of a sudden, Dallas looked like a serious team again, so that also looks like a loss. I'm seeing at least 3 losses here. At the very least, that's 3 losses by the Raptors in the last 7 games. At least it should be, even with their current efforts or lack thereof as far as tanking. And if the Raptors can lose 3 games, at least 3 of these games, and they'd have 50 losses. Right? 50 losses on the season. And I get the last game is against the Spurs. But the Raptors lose 50 games. Of the 7, I think it is, remaining games for the San Antonio Spurs, 8 remaining games for the San Antonio Spurs, they're on 43 losses. They'd have to lose 7 of those last 8 games. So, is it possible? Absolutely. But that'd be like pretty crazy tank work by the Spurs. Like, wouldn't I 1-7 in their last 8 games? Their schedule might make it a bit easier. They still have to play the Nuggets, the Cavs, the Clippers, the Warriors, the Suns, who will likely all be trying to win. But they also have a game against the Raptors, which could be a big one. But if the Raptors go, and I'm being conservative, they have to go 4-3. The Spurs would have to go 1-7. Just seems like it'd be pretty hard to even go 1-7. Like 2-6 is still pretty bad, but it's possible. But then again, the Raptors could just go 3-4. The Spurs have to go 0-8. So yeah, the Spurs are kind of catching them, but also it's late in the season. The threat here exists of the Spurs and Blazers maybe catching the Raptors. I just don't really see it happening. And also amidst this stretch, they could also just shut down Scotty Barnes because they can finally take him out. They could shut down RJ, they could shut down Emmanuel quickly. So threat level on this, I think Raptors fans are getting a little too nervous because it's still quite a lot that needs to go wrong if the Raptors are going to lose the bottom 7 seed that they currently occupy.